Welcome to the Odyssey of a Former Fat Kid. I'm your host and former fat kid, Bryan Butler, and today I have the privilege of talking with Cornelius Lindsay. Met Cornelius recently, actually. He is a busy guy. Former pastor. He's a husband. He's a father. The founder of Sabbath Foundation. Entrepreneur. There's a lot of hats that he wears, but today we'll be talking about his work with Sabbath Foundation. Cornelius, thank you so much for giving me a bit of your time.
Hey Brian, I'm so honored to be here. I love it, and I'm super excited about this.
Cool, man. I guess let's start with Sabbath Foundation. Just give
Yeah,
us kind of high level. What is it? How did it start? Why did it start?
yeah. So I'll go into how it started. So
Yeah.
as you mentioned, I'm a former pastor. I pastored for over 10 years. I've been in full time ministry since I've been full time ministry since 2010, and I also been an entrepreneur since 2010. But I suffer from depression and suicidal ideation. And through many of those years, great anxiety, all those things, not having an outlet to go to. And I like
Mhm.
to accredit it to, I believe it was just an over spiritualization of very practical things, not knowing how to deal with certain things because it was just, I was constantly throwing religion over it. And so I didn't have anywhere else to go. I was invited to go to a retreat in 2018. That retreat changed my life. I didn't know I was as tired as what I was. I was upset with
Mhm.
God. I was mad with my life. I hated my life. I just hate everything. And so I just made a pledge to myself. I'm going to keep going. So the next year I went to another retreat. Then after that, the founder of that retreat, I went to him and we became great friends. He's like a mentor to me now. And I said to him, I said, hey, I want to do this. I want to do what you're
Yeah.
doing. I believe it's going to help people. And he was like, sure. So Sabbath Foundation started because of the great need that I had to rest and recognizing that men also need that rest. So we primarily focus on men. The
Mhm.
whole goal is to be able to help high level leaders, men, pastors, family men, entrepreneurs, CEOs, find the rest that they need so they can be strong enough to go on the journey ahead, and then to honor what I believe to be a God ordained rule for life, and that is to find rest in a society that is hell bent on being focused on performance.
Mhm. Okay. For those who aren't familiar with like the term Sabbath, can you talk a bit more about why that name, what it means, its origins?
Absolutely. So it's something that comes out of a predominantly Jewish custom. The Sabbath is plainly its rest, and that's what it is. In the book of Genesis, what God did was He worked for 7 days. He created man. He did the lights. He did all these things, the animals, and then after His work of 6 days, He said that He rested on the seventh. And the seventh day is not just so we can just be lazy, but the idea is that we're able to look back on everything that we've had the ability to do and of all the creativity that we've used and for us to rest. Sabbath is rest. And throughout scripture, that's what God used. In fact, the body itself, it works on rest. I love going to the gym, and a big part of working out, if I want to build muscle, the most important part is not the lifting, it's not the eating, it's the rest. I have to get
Hmm.
adequate amount of sleep in order for the muscles to grow. If I don't rest, they don't grow. So rest is important, and that's what Sabbath is. It is predominantly it's rest.
Okay. Yeah, that is really important. I mean, how take us back a bit. So, like, what did life look like for you before 2018?
Before 2018, life looked like I was pastoring a church, and at that time I had three campuses, two in Georgia, one in North Carolina. Um, I was traveling the world preaching. So typically in a given week, I had meetings from Monday to Thursday. Typically,
Mm.
I fly out on Friday night to go preach at a church in Philadelphia. I may preach there on Friday night and Saturday. Then I would catch a red eye out back to Atlanta to be back at the first service in Atlanta to preach three services in Atlanta on Sunday. And I do it all over again. Um, my wife and I, we have three kids. So the third kid at that time had been born. So I was still being a father. They had school activities and stuff like that. At that time, I was also writing books. I think by 2018, I had finished up my 16th book or 15th book at that time. And so I was still putting out books. My wife and I, we hosted we hosted conferences. So my wife had a women's conference, a big one every year, and I had a men's conference. We were hosting marriage retreats. And then we would do what we call revival nights. And we would do those we did it in Nigeria and Kenya and London. And so pretty much my calendar was always packed. I was always
Mm-hmm.
moving. I was always on the go and I was always doing something. And I didn't think that rest was needed. And if it was, and I didn't know how to get it.
Mm. Hmm. What led you to that? I guess that packed schedule. Like, did you see it modeled before you? Was there pressure, external pressure to say this is how you should move as a pastor? And
Um, Honestly, it was trauma. I think
huh.
that's what I think looking back on it, I've lived my life, Brian. Um, now I'm able to see I lived my life with this performance
Mm,
based love. That if I didn't perform, then I wouldn't be loved. If I didn't say yes to the speaking engagement, then I would anger God. If I didn't say
mm,
yes to my kids, then I would anger my kids and they wouldn't love me. If I didn't say yes to my wife, then I would anger my wife and she wouldn't love me. If I didn't say yes to my friends, then they won't be my friends anymore. And so
mm,
everything in my life was performative. And so I wrote the books. I wrote my books, not even because I wanted to write books. I wrote my books because I wanted my father to look at me and tell me that he loved me and that he was proud of me. That's what I
mm,
wanted. I wanted to perform. I wanted to preach well because I wanted God to be happy. And so my schedule was packed because if I wasn't doing anything, then I didn't feel like I was needed. And if I'm not needed, then I'm not loved.
mm. Wow. Okay. And after, I guess, that transition point in 2018, actually, no, you mentioned on the outset, depression, suicidal ideation. Was it like a rock bottom around that 2018 time where you just like, you know what? Like you mentioned that you made a commitment to yourself. I'm gonna keep coming back to this retreat. So it sounded like something
Yeah.
really transformative happened at that retreat.
Yeah, it did. That was my first time really, really getting away.
Yeah.
Uh, and I've been on vacation. You know, my wife and I, we took vacations, and I've been on trips with my wife, and I've been on family vacations and family trips. But just for me to
Mm-hmm.
get along by myself and to be outside at 1 o'clock in the morning, sitting in front of a fire, and I'm confronted by my own thoughts, and I
Mm-hmm.
realized just how angry I was with God. And I remember walking behind the house. I went behind the house, and I was so mad, Brian. I went back there and I was shaking my fist towards heaven and I was like, I'm so upset. I'm so mad at you. I hate my life. I should have done what I wanted to do. Doing what I believe you called me to do has led me to nothing but blah. And I was so angry. I was so angry. And then, that happened in 2018, but 2019, December of 2019, um, everything just kind of came to a head. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I was trapped. I felt like I was trapped in pastoring. I felt like I was trapped. And here's the thing, Brian. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody from the outside looking in, people would have probably looked at my life and said, I want that.
Yeah.
And I was in it and I was like, this is killing me. Like, I don't know myself. I don't know what I like to do for fun. So I don't have fun. My life is just
Mm,
work, 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 meeting, 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 meeting. Go here, go there, burial, marriage, preach, do
mm,
this, counseling session. And I was just like, yo, when do I find a break? I didn't have a break. And so December 2019, my wife is sleeping in the bed. My youngest son, he was like 1 or 2 at the time. He's sleeping in the middle of us. I'm sitting on the edge of the bed, and to give you an idea of how our house layout was, my daughter's bedroom, she was around 4 or 5 at the time, I believe, but her bedroom was right in front of ours, kind of across the hall, and then my oldest son's bedroom was down the hall.
mm,
And so um, I'm sitting on the edge of the bed and I'm crying. I got tears coming out of my eyes and I'm going crazy. And so I opened up my drawer and I took I took out my gun case and I put in the code. I took that gun, I held it, I clicked the safety off, and that's when I was getting ready to do it right there on the
Mm,
bed. And my daughter, I'm looking, and I see this little shadow walking. I'm looking, and I say, Taylor, that's my daughter's name. And she said, yeah, daddy. And she's rubbing her eyes. And I said, baby, what are you doing? And she said, daddy, I love you. And man, I
mm,
broke down crying. And she said, can I lay with you? And I was
mm,
just like, oh my gosh, you know. And I was like, yeah, baby, hold on 1 second. So like I have to put the thing away and lock it up. And, you know, I pick her up and I cuddle with her. And I wake up the next morning, my wife, she looks at me and she says, why is she in the bed? And I said, she came in last night. She's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. She said, you like you've been crying. And I was like, no, no, baby, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. And I didn't tell my wife what was going on with me until, you know, months later. So I didn't want her to be
mm.
worried about me. But it had always just come to a head, Brian. I felt trapped in a life that I had created. It wasn't bad. It's just that I felt like I couldn't be myself. And I was performing a character for other people, but I was so lonely.
Mm, mm.
Yep.
Would it be fair to say that, I mean, you didn't even know who you were,
Oh, I had no
or
idea who I was.
yeah, you're just like,
I had no idea who I
I'm
was.
this facade, but that's
No
it.
idea who I was. I
Yeah.
started therapy. I went to a therapist. I started therapy in 2020. And because afterwards, I told my wife, and my
Mm-hmm.
wife was like, "You gotta go to therapy." So I went to therapy, and my therapist looked at me, and my therapist said, he said, Cornelius, he said, "Can I ask you a question?" And I was like, "Well, I guess you can ask me another one because you just asked me one." And he said, you know, he did his little joke, and he said,
uh,
Cornelius, he said, "What do you like to do for fun?" And I looked at him, and I said, and I kind of scooted on the couch, you know, and I did this, and I was staring at him. He said, "What are you thinking?" And I said, "I want to punch you in the face." And he said, "Well, let's not do that." He said, "Why do you want to punch me, Cornelius?" And I said, "Because you just asked me a question that I don't have an answer to, and I feel like I should."
mm,
And he said, "Well, why don't you hold the pillow?" He said, "Be mad at the pillow, squeeze it." And I was squeezing the pillow. And I remember leaving out of that session. Like, I don't even, I don't, I'm in my 30s. I have no idea what I like to do. I have no idea who I am. I have
mm.
no idea what I want because everything in my life but it's a life I created, a great, beautiful life. But everything in my life is based on, you know, this performative nature, this character that I've created. And I had to get out of it.
Hmm.
I had to get out of it, bro.
It's interesting, yeah. And for those, I mean, like for anybody who watches this, like as he said, you're not saying your marriage was bad, you're not saying your wife was bad, you're not saying your kids were bad, any of that stuff. But it was like the underlying motivation for for any of this was completely fear based, and like if I don't do it, then they're not
100%.
gonna love me. Yeah. So, because I'm sure, like some people may hear this and be like, I just can't grasp how in the world would he be in that state with what he's describing as his life. But if those
Everybody
underlying
said that to me.
motivators, yeah,
Everybody said it to me because everybody would say, man, well, you know, I'm looking at your life and I want your life. I want to be able to travel like you do. I want to be able to do these things. Like I would love to be able to stand in front of these people. And I would look at them and I would say, you should do it. You should go for it. Like you can have it. And they couldn't fathom the thought of me being like, well, I don't like this. But in that, like what you're saying is huge. But it took me time to come away from it for me to finally realize, you know, some of the things that I was experiencing. Identity, like some of the most important questions that we ask ourselves is, who am I? Where am I from? And what do I want? Identity is important. I mean, it's so important that 23andMe and all these other ancestry.com, all these other things they make so much money because people want
Right.
to figure out where do they come from, because maybe to give me a clue to who I am, and maybe that'll give me a clue to what do I want. And so that was a big thing. I also realized that a big part of it was my nervous system. I don't think we have, Brian, I don't think we have to have an international dialogue about how our nervous system is shot,
Mm.
because it never gets a break. Technology is beautiful, but the problem is that our nervous system was never meant to take on this amount of information in a day. I mean, you got to think, I can wake up in the morning and hear about two countries going to war, hear about a potential war going on somewhere else. And then I get a phone call that so-and-so in the family just started fighting. And then so-and-so cousin just got shot. And so imagine, as a pastor,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to deal with just my stuff, but somebody's called, their mama just died. Somebody else
Yeah.
called, their husband just got arrested. Somebody else, I just got a pastor who just got arrested for this. And I go down the line, and that happens in a 6-hour period.
Yeah.
And my nervous system, and people would say, you should just pray. I'm like, pray, Negro, what like, what am I going to do? Like, you want me to pray? Like, this is tough. And our nervous system never gets a chance to just calm down
Mm.
and to recalibrate. So I can rethink and I can reimagine and I can be restored and then go back into the work. And so I did that for so many years, man. My nervous system was shot.
Yeah. Hmm. Can you? So I'm sure some people may hear nervous system and they may not hear it referred to in that way. But to me, just using that, we'll say you're getting on my nerves or my nerves are fried, and that's essentially what you're saying. Like we're over. I like to
Overstimulated.
say overstimulated. Yeah, I like to say the fact that some conversations with family sometimes like the world is is going to hell in a handbasket. Yes, things are bad. It's like, but simultaneously, to your point, we drown ourselves in information from the time that we wake up. And the way that the algorithm is designed and the way that we tend to respond is going to be negative. It's not like we're sitting there watching, feel good, inspirational stuff all day. Like we're watching rage bait and just getting more and more mad and wondering why we're fried and our relationships are suffering because
we're exhausted. And the reason why, one of the reasons, I love what we do in Sabbath is, I have to get the guys to understand, I need for you to get away from where you are right now. I mean, the Bible is important to me. God told Abram, who later became Abraham, he said, listen, before I want to have a conversation with you. I want to cut a covenant with you. But before I can do that, I need for you to leave 3 things. And these are the 3 top things that I tell men they got to get away from. They got to get away from their kinfolk. You got to get away from your family, because your family is shaping your mind. You got to get away from your kinfolk. You got to get away from your country, because your geographical land, you didn't even realize it. But like, it's almost like, for people to get an understanding, it's like you're driving home, and sometimes you'll be home and like, oh, I didn't even realize I was driving, because you've gotten so accustomed to the route. And so your geographical location is stunting your growth, and you can't even see beyond the stop sign down the road. And then he said, I need you to get away from your father's house. I got to get you away from this ruling order that you feel like you have to be under. I need to completely detach you from the world that you've been in long enough, so I can be able to speak to you, so we can make this covenant. And so that was a big thing for me, where I was like, I don't know how to get away from this. And people, we don't do that. And to your point, we wake up in the morning, and I mean, we are immediately hit with world news. I remember growing up, it was like breaking news was like once in a while.
Yeah.
But now when you watch the news, it's like breaking news report, breaking news right now. a shark just ate a dog, and you're like, oh my God, I'm afraid of sharks. So you just like, well,
Yep.
why was the dog in the water? You know what I'm talking about? Like, how you mad at the shark? He was in his house. Like, you mad. But that's
Yep.
it all day long. Everything's a problem. Now we got to talk about Minnesota. Got to talk about what's going on over here. Oh, we got to talk about Chicago. Oh, now it's like the Arctic freeze. Everybody's
Hmm.
going to die because the weather's coming. It's getting cold. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God. So everybody's running, mass hysteria. They're going to the stores, and now the media, they're in there showing there's no more water left. Oh my God, there's no more. Everybody's gonna starve, and you're not gonna be hydrated. And and what we try to do is we try to say, okay, I'm gonna pull away. I'm
Hmm.
not going to look at the news. And then what happens? Because we got our phones. Somebody
Yep.
calls us. Hey, what's going on? Did you hear about what happened? And blah 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 blah. I didn't, but now I did, and now you're intrigued. Well, what happened?
Yep.
He said, and and I hear this all the time, Brian. Guys will come and they'll say, Cornelius, I'm tired. And then
Hmm.
I'll say, okay, so what do you want to do? And and they'll say, well, I guess you take a vacation. Vacation ain't going to work because a vacation and a retreat are not the same thing. And I have to make sure
Yeah.
I differentiate that. But a vacation, and they say take a vacation. They'll come from home from the vacation more
Hmm.
tired than they did before they went to the vacation.
Hmm.
And so they don't know. We don't know now how to rest. And that is
Sure.
the purpose of Sabbath Foundation. And the one group between men and women to get them that I've found the group that's the toughest to get to understand the concept of rest is men.
Mm.
And that's because we are performative beasts. We want to perform. And we have this Superman complex that if I am not performing, then I am not loved and I am not good. I am not needed and I'm not a priority. So I need to perform and I need to always feel needed in order to belong.
Mm. Mm. How do you, I mean, in order to be able to identify these things in our lives and even admit them, it requires like an aspect of vulnerability. But obviously, I'm sure you've encountered guys and vulnerable. Sometimes
No, man.
there's a stigma that's attached to that. And so how do you kind of rework it so that it's communicated without setting folks off with the word?
Um, uh, um, I think the best way to do it is to model it first.
Mm.
Because if the men, I have yet to meet a man who is not searching for safety.
Mm.
And 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 once he feels safe, because what we do is, man, any environment we walk into, the first thing we search for is safety. I try to get my wife to understand it all the time. She has no clue. Like after being married for 16 years, she finally gets it. When we walk into a restaurant, I have to let her know I don't like to put my back to the door. And she's like, well, in the beginning, she's like, I don't understand that because you're not concerned about safety. I am.
Yeah.
I want to know
Sizing
what
folks up, escape
I'm
routes.
sizing everybody up in there. I want to know where are the exits. There's an emergency exit. That's the go exit. That's the exit right there. I want to know. I know. I remember where the car was. She gets on me. She's like, every time I park, she says, why do you have the back end? I said, because I'm thinking about the end from the beginning. What if something happens? We got to rush up out of here. Now I got to wait to these 4 cars, back out and then I ain't got time for that. I'm zooming right out. And so we men most times, and I don't want to generalize all men, but most times
Yeah,
we
yeah.
think about safety and we're searching for safety in a world that doesn't give us that. It tells us to perform for love. It doesn't tell us to be safe and know that we're loved. So when I model vulnerability and when I open up and I say, here's something that's happened for me, the first
Mm.
thing that happens, I believe happens in a man's mind or a person's mind is they say, this is a safe place
Mm.
because he has took if I can give people an idea of what I'm talking about, it's like I have taken my protective armor off. I've taken off my breastplate and I've put down my sword and I've said, this is how I am. Now you see me.
Mm-hmm.
While you still have your breastplate and your sword in your hand. And at any
Mm.
point in time, because I'm exposed, you could kill me and I have no
Mm-hmm.
protection. But I am going to take the risk of being vulnerable and being unprotected just so you can see this is safe. I'm friendly. I'm not an
Mm-hmm.
enemy. I'm not here to hurt you. You don't have to perform here. And then slowly but surely, I see the armor come off. I see the
Mm-hmm.
sword get put down. And then I see a completely different man. And women most time ask me, they'll say, well, how do I know that women will ask the question, how do I know my man feels safe? And I think there are a couple different ways, but one of the biggest ways that she knows her man feels safe is when he starts acting like a little boy around you. That's one of the greatest indicators, because what he's saying is, I am safe enough to be silly.
Mm-hmm.
And when that woman looks at him and she says, why do you act like that? You act like a child. Like, stop doing that. Why do you make that sound? Why you roll around the floor like that? Get up. Like, when she does that to him, every time she says that to him, she is communicating to this man that you're not safe. You're not safe. Go back to being a man. When she doesn't realize him acting like a little boy is a big part of him being a man. That is his playful nature. And men, when they're playful, they feel safe, 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 safe.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but again, it's exposing myself, allowing myself to be vulnerable, and giving men enough time to put down their armor so that they can be vulnerable as well.
Mm. Yeah, I can attest to the fact. I went on one of the retreats this past. For anybody who doesn't know, one of the first retreat this past was it November,
Yep,
and
November. Yeah.
yeah, and admittedly, was my brother Ethan invited me because he co-hosts with you, and I was like, okay, I don't know what to expect, and was thrown off. But it was in ways shocking
Mm-hmm.
and transformative
Mm-hmm.
for me. And I saw you and Ethan model the taking the breastplate off, putting the sword down, um, which again was a surprise to me as well, because I didn't quite know how you all were going to approach it and what that was going to look
Mm-hmm.
like and how guys were going to respond.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was, yeah, yeah, I can attest to that. And then you saw the other guys, throughout the course of the week, just, yeah, opening
Yeah.
up. And because I think this was a decent sized group, and most of us, it was our first time,
Right.
you know,
Right.
but you would think that we had known each other for a while.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
Because we just have a good time and we have fun. And like you said, you would think that, oh, these guys know each other and
Right.
this is a safe place. But yeah, man, I think that, we don't talk vulnerability. And I think vulnerability is difficult, like I said, because there are no safe places.
Hmm.
And when guys like you come on the retreat for the first time, I one of the best things that we can be is fully vulnerable. And number two, just to be ourselves and not try to put on airs or try to act like we're somebody else. And just like guys, cause every man who comes, I'm quite sure you did when you came, you go through all the emotions. Number one, it's like, what did I get myself into? Who are these people? Why
Yeah.
am I in Montana? Like, who else here look like me? It's a lot of things you go through before you finally, then when you sit at the table, you're like, hold on, I'm sitting at this table with these other guys. What is this conversation going to be like? Because
Hmm.
really, if we're honest, I don't have any hope in what this is going. I don't have any hope this is going to change anything or do anything. And you sit there long enough, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is transformative. This is life changing. Like this is hopeful. And I sit at a table, and now I don't feel like I have to hold back because I've seen vulnerability modeled in front of
Hmm. Are there, I'm actually reading through a book right now,
me.
from a previous client of mine who I'm going to have on the podcast after I finish his book. But it's
Hmm.
called Non-Toxic Masculinity.
Love it.
Um, it's been good so far. And,
Yeah.
but like in your journey, how would you define toxic masculinity, one? And then two, how has it, um, I guess, kind of played into your journey, um, and the discovery of kind of what more healthy masculinity looks like.
I think that masculinity has been I think that we've defined toxic masculinity based on roles. I
Okay.
think that if I was to give a definition for toxic masculinity, I would say that it is performance. It is performative masculinity. That's what I believe it is. It is when a man it's when a man carries on a role that is not his. And or I wouldn't say role, but when a man carries on a character that is not really who he is. He's trying to fit a role, or he's trying to fit this character, or to fit this narrative that is not expressive of who he truly is. But when a man is truly authentic, and when he is vulnerable, and when he's able to show his emotions and to share those things, but share them in a very healthy way,
Yeah.
to use I statements that shows maturity, that I feel this way, but just because I feel this way does not mean that I am this way. That
Mm-hmm.
he can be able to express anger without punching a hole in the wall.
Mm-hmm.
It's it is freedom. And uh, anytime we have a sense of performance, it is going to be toxic. And unfortunately, most of the men I encounter, most of the men that I work with, because I coach a lot of them, but most of the men that I work with, it is a journey to get them out of their performative nature. Because all they want to do is just perform all day long, to pretend to be somebody they're not.
Yeah. What I think one of the main pieces that you guys talked about on the retreat was a sense of belonging.
Mm-hmm.
There, like, is there a difference between belonging and true connection with somebody?
I think if there is a difference, I believe it's a very thin line.
It's more
But
semantics. Yeah.
yeah, it could be more semantics. But I will say, belonging is something that we all search for. It's a
Mm-hmm.
necessity, especially in men, which is why identity in boys is so important. Because when a boy doesn't know who he is and he doesn't know where he's from, then he automatically gravitates towards those who will give him identity. Which is why young boys in inner cities run towards gangs. Which
Yep.
is why boys who are in suburban neighborhoods or even higher class neighborhoods, they run towards sports. A gang and a football team, while they have some major differences, they have a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
It's all about brotherhood. It's about family. I'm in the huddles with my son and his football teams, and they talk about being a family. They talk about protecting each other. They talk about having each other's back. They talk about being there for each other. They watch out for each other at school. They pay for each other's lunches when they don't have it, because they're there for each other. And so
Yeah.
men search for belonging. They search for a place where they feel like this is me. And then connection. I think that where the thin line is drawn is that it is one thing for me to feel like I belong in this community, but it heightens it when now I feel connected to it.
Yeah.
And that connection, when it is true, means that I don't have to pretend in order to sit at your table. And that's where Sabbath Foundation comes in, and the work that I do. When I don't have to pretend, like I can sit in this seat at the table. I talk a lot about the chair and the table. When I can sit in the chair and I don't have to perform to be at this chair, I can just be connected because of who I am. That's enough. That's fine. Because I get guys, Bryan, they'll come, and I get pastors. I had one guy, man, he came and he got there and he said, my name is, we were going around. He said, yeah, my name is Apostle, whatever he said his name was. And I looked at him and I said, I want to let you know right now, just so you know, brother, I'm not going to call you apostle. I'm quite sure you apostle to somebody, but you ain't apostle to me. Apostle is who you are out there. And here, I'm just giving a name. And here we're going to call you Jimmy. Your mama named you Jimmy. We're going to call you Jimmy. And he was like, yeah, but I'll give you my title. I don't care about your title. You're gonna be
Yeah.
Jimmy. And when I'm tired, you're gonna probably be Jim. And then when we working out together, you're probably gonna be Big J. So I want to let you know, let you in that the name gonna probably change. But the one I'm not gonna use is your title. So,
Yeah.
but it's important for me to do that, not because I want to be disrespectful of whatever office or title he has, but because I need for him to know that his title is not what put him in the seat.
Yeah.
It's his presence. And so that's where the connection piece comes in. I want to connect to who you really are, not to
Mm.
who you pretend to be. And when you feel connected, that's when you really feel like you belong.
Hmm. That is a good distinction and a good progression.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What what would you, because I don't mind, being an open book. What did you observe of me on the trip? I'm just
Well, I
curious.
can, oh, absolutely. I'll be happy to tell you. So,
Yeah, yeah. And it's totally
so,
fine. I don't even
yeah, so I could tell that you were an observer, that you wanted to you wanted to case the scene before yeah, you wanted to case the scene before you made the move.
Mm.
And if there was anything, if there was an example I could give, let me think. It was almost like it was almost like this probably wouldn't do it in full. This probably wouldn't do it full justice, but I would say to be more like a silent assassin, because
Okay.
I'm so serious, because you would be in the room, but you know how to be so quiet that it's almost like your presence is there, but you're not there. Not
Mm.
because you're not listening, because you heard every conversation that happened, even the ones people don't think you heard. But you being in a space, and it's almost like, oh, Bryan's there. I never forget coming to the table, and you were drawing at the table.
Mm.
I remember looking over, and I was like, well, Bryan's just sitting here drawing. He ain't said a word, and these guys at the table are having some crazy discussion, but Bryan ain't said a word, and it's just a discussion. You listen, you take in. And one thing I admired about you is that you, Bryan, some men speak because they want to say something. Other men speak because what they have to say is worth listening to. And I observed that you are more of the latter, that when you spoke, it was born out of observation. It was born out of thought. You didn't just say, well, this is what I felt. It was like, and it's almost like because we saw you reserved, we knew you were contemplating before you spoke. So when you spoke, I don't know if you caught it, but oftentimes when you spoke, everybody got quiet
Mm.
because we wanted to listen. It was like, well, I ain't heard him talk in a while. What he got to say? That's what I did. I'm like, what Bryan talking about? Because I ain't heard Bryan talk. Bryan ain't talking like 6 hours. I don't know. Is Bryan okay? Like, I don't know. I
Right.
have no idea.
Right.
Bryan was sitting in that chair. I
Yeah.
have no idea. Bryan went from the chair, then he went outside. Then he sat outside. Then he went back inside. Then he sat in that chair. Then he went back in. And I said, Bryan has moved 9 times, and I ain't heard him speak once. So, so when we sit at the table and now Bryan gets to talking, I'm like, oh. So now I'm sitting back like, oh, what Bryan got to talk about? I want to hear what Bryan has to say. And I'm like, oh crap, that was good. I didn't know Bryan was thinking that. But you heard every
Uh,
conversation that was there. That was my observation.
okay.
No lie.
That's hilarious. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's been an interesting journey because it in part is something that I've been working on. But in the
Hmm.
past, like when I was a kid, anger was a significant issue. I'm not entirely sure why,
Hmm.
um, but I was just angry. I was big and I was angry. And like it was like there were times I got in a lot of trouble, and then there were times where my parents gave me grace because they knew that they called it crimes of passion. Because they were like, okay, he didn't premeditate that. He just got really worked up and said the first thing that came to mind. So he don't actually mean it, but he's just blurting out, or he's throwing hands or whatever. And so, yeah, it's yeah, something that I've been, and I continue to work on. Part of it too is growing in comfortability. Like me and Ethan are so different in that Ethan's much more private and he can talk to you for days, but you not get to know him. Like he's really good at kind of keeping that barrier. But then he's also very insightful and very attentive. But his ability to go into a space and just turn on, I'm going to be personable and get to know people and be a facilitator and everything, scares the crap out. Like, terrifies me. I wish I could do it, and I'm working on it, but he tells me about it. I'm just like, my blood pressure goes out. Like, I can't even imagine like walking into a space like that. So part of it is getting the lay of the land. But I will say that, again, you and Ethan's example, and then some of the other guys who have been on multiple trips made it easier for me to make that transition from observation to engagement, for sure.
Right.
Just the way that you guys hosted the event and the tone that you set made it a lot easier.
Well, I mean, you were an asset to have at the table. I think it's always cool when family members or brothers get an opportunity to come. And it was so cool that, Ethan was able to invite you and you were to come because, like I told you, just a year or so before that, my brother showed up, and he and I are like, we're different. Our personalities are different. And he was kind of like you. He just kind of sat back. He kind of observed. When he talked, he talked. When he didn't talk, he didn't talk. And that's just what it was. He had a good time in the corner by himself. But it's fun to be able to see like the differences. And Ethan was able to see the differences between my brother and I. So it's cool to be able to sit back and see, okay, these are the similarities and the differences between you and Ethan. So I thought that was so cool, bro.
Nice. Yeah, I'm really glad he extended the invite and that I was able to go. And definitely plan on coming back because it was a great time. It really was.
It was.
And there's a part of me that really likes the outdoors anyway. And so it was like, okay, going out to Montana. I was like, I've never been out there before, but I've heard it's beautiful. So let's do it. And so that was next time I got to get out. Well, I know we got to be careful out that way. It's the land that you're walking on.
Yeah. You don't want to get too long.
Not just free range. Not just free range.
No, it's not. Because if you see a pickup truck pull up by you, you might as well just go on and be like, well, praise the Lord. I'm going to meet an eagle. I don't know. And ain't nobody in the federal government can help you, brother. You own your own. You own your own. Yes, sir.
Man. Another question comes to mind, which is, how has you say you used to pastor, you're not pastoring anymore. How has your relationship with the Lord changed over these last, 6 years, 5 years? We'll leave it there. How has it changed?
I am more of I'm a son, not a slave anymore. I no longer go to God in performance. I just go to him in who I am. I approach him through the saving grace of Jesus Christ, not anything else. I don't try to pretend that I'm holier than what I really am. This is just who I am. And I love it. My relationship with God is stronger now than what it's ever been. Back then, I would have thought it was stronger because it was more performative. But back then, if I didn't pray for an hour or whatever it was, then I felt like God was mad at me, and then I was going to be punished for it. And that's not love. And so that's just slavery, and that's what I was in. I would say though that my relationship with the organized church has changed a lot. I think being inside of it, it's almost like, it's like I can't see, a spludge on my face because it's on my face. Uh, and it's not until I pick up a mirror and I start looking at my face that I can now see what's on my face.
Mm-hmm.
And being in the bubble for over 10 years, it's difficult for you to really see what's going on outside the world. And you start to think that what's in your bubble is real and it's big and it's this. And then you step outside of the bubble and you start to realize people are in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to make some changes. And so, yeah, so my relationship now with the organized churches has greatly changed, but with God, it's gotten so much better. I'm just who I am, and I love him. He loved me. Kumbaya. We good.
How have you seen your relationship with your wife and children
Oh my
change?
God. I'm so glad I stepped away from pastoring
Mm.
because um, I'm able to enjoy my family without having to worry about everybody else's.
Mm.
Like I'm able to be there for my family and I'm able to love on my family. And I don't have to worry about missing my son's football games because I got to go preach. I don't have to worry about missing my daughter's gymnastics recitals because I got to preach. I don't have to worry about missing my youngest son's basketball games and his practices because I got to go preach, or I got to go counsel somebody, or I got to go do this, or I got to go do that, or I have to go, and I'm doing it all for the Lord. I can go on a date with my wife, or I can, back then when we wanted to travel, most of the time we had to plan it around church, and we would leave and then try to be back before Sunday. Now, if we want to leave, we'll be gone Thursday to Tuesday. And I'm like, well, praise the Lord, And so I'm glad that I'm glad that I have my family, and I'm glad that my family has me, because
Mm.
before I don't think my family didn't have me.
Mm.
Church had me. I would love to be able to tell people, oh yeah, my family had me. I was doing everything. If the church needed me, I was there. And I think that's a disservice to my family. So they have me now, and I
Mm.
love them. We love each other. We have fun. We travel together. We do all the stuff together. We just enjoy each other.
Yeah, that's so important, and it's so tough at times too. There's a because I work at a church as a graphic designer, but ministry kid. My dad's a pastor now. He was a pastor when we were younger, or worship minister, different things like that. And there's something that just sticks with me now. There's a pastor who's now retired. He's probably about 80 now, but he, having lived some of the mistakes, really emphasizes the importance of pastors, and just those who are in ministry, especially if you're, a man, head of your household and stuff like that. The importance of ministering out of the strength of your family, not at their expense. Um, and that's just something that really sticks with me. And then when you hear, like stories like yours, or you see other, you're just like, okay, it makes sense now. Like I knew a number of folks who, your dad's a pastor, family's in ministry, but there's always the stories about the preacher's kids who just go off, at some point. And you don't want to take all the responsibility from the individual, for sure, but
Right.
there are consequences for a man who ministers at his family's expense.
Yeah.
You know,
Big ones.
uh, yeah, and
Big
so
ones.
being able to focus on your family during this time. How would you? I mean, you are where you are right now
Right.
with organized church, but where do you see? Do you have a sense of where you think the Lord is taking you as you continue on this journey in your relationship with Him?
I love the work that I do right now with Sabbath Foundation. I want
Yeah.
for my I want for the legacy I leave behind to be the work that I do.
Yeah.
I love being able to host retreats. Like I said, I also coach. So I love
Mm-hmm.
being able to sit down with men to be able to talk about transition plans. I love to be able to map out for them a vision statement, a mission statement, their core values. I love to be able to help families come together and to establish their family mission statement, their family. I love to be able to provide clarity for people. And that's what I
Mm-hmm.
love to be able to do now. And so this work, I want to. This is what I want to be my legacy. My goal is to start some Sabbath houses, and Sabbath houses are going to be where men can go to rest. Where
Mm.
Bryan, nothing may be going on in your life from the outside, but everything could be going on with you from within. Because one thing I know about men is that we can be incredibly good actors.
Mm.
And let's just say that you have a ton of stuff internally that you're dealing with. Well, let's look throughout scripture. When men had things going on, they had to get away. Like David was prepared to be king in a cave, not on the battlefield against Goliath.
Mm-hmm.
David learned who he was. He learned the strength of God. He learns the compassion of God in a cave where we get Psalms from. So we had to get away. So the Sabbath house is going to be, these Sabbath houses are going to be built so that men like you can call up and say, I need a week. I need a week. I just need to go somewhere with
Mm-hmm.
me and a puzzle and a book. And I said, all right, bro, come on. And I got a chef right here. He's going to cook all your food, take care of everything you need, and you're going to be here. There's the Wi-Fi code. Stay here because I needed that when I was at a lowest place in my life. And I called up my friend, Bryan Carpenter in Michigan, in Montana. And I called him
Mm-hmm.
and I said, Bryan, this is going on in my life right now. I need help. I have nowhere to go. He hung up the phone. 2 minutes later, he sends me a text message, called me back. He said, check your text message. I've reached my, and he said, he just bought me a one-way flight to Montana. And he said,
Mm-hmm.
get here right now. I went to the airport. I flew to Montana. When I talked to him, he said, we're setting you up at a house. He said, Cornelius, he said, if you need to stay there, you can stay there for a week. You can stay for a month. He said, if you have to, you can stay for a whole year if you need to. He said, I just want to make sure you're going to be okay. And then he said, hey, I'm in Wyoming right now, but I'm going to drive over. I'm going to drive over there and I'm going to come see you. And he did. I was there a day and a half later. He drove from Wyoming to Montana and he came, walked inside the house and he said, put on your shoes. Come on, let's go. Let's go for a walk. And we went out and we probably walked 4 miles together talking
Mm-hmm.
and him reassuring me, telling me things are going to be okay. And so that did something to me because I said, that's ministry. Ministry is not me getting on a stage and preaching on people and having them to think that my outfit looks nice or whatever this crap that we made it out to be. It's like ministry is being there with people, is walking them through their stuff. And Bryan, I can't walk you through your stuff from a stage.
Mm-hmm.
Like I need to be there with you. I need to look you in the eyes and say, bro, what's going on? And then you being honest and say, this is what's happening. And we can talk about that and we can walk through that. And that's what saves marriages. That's what saves fathers staying with their kids. That's what saves lives. And so this is my life's work. If I never get back on another stage again, I'm completely fine with it. If I never write another book again, I am fine with standing in the back and having a place for the men who stand on the stages, for the men who write the books, for the men who stand in front of the people. I am completely fine being a safe place for those men because when I was doing that stuff, I couldn't find that anywhere. And I am going to be for other men what I wish I had for myself.
Mm-hmm. For any guy they hear this, it hits them, but they don't know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
What step would you encourage them to take?
Well, number one, I say you need to come on a retreat. I would be remiss, and I believe I would be negligent to tell you need to take a break, because number one, you don't know how he is.
Right.
And number two, the break you're going to take is not the break you need. Because most of us men, we're just self-medicating. We self-medicate with either video games. We self-medicate with food. We self-medicate with alcohol. We self-medicate with drugs. We self-medicate with porn. We self-medicate with, I mean, you name it. We just try to self-medicate to try to soothe our nervous system, try to soothe our mind, to try to soothe our soul, to make us think that everything's okay. You throw yourself into more work. You try to build something else, create something new. You don't go out and build a new shed house or add a new addition to your house. You don't really want to. You just doing to get out of the house because you don't want to be in there with your contentious wife. I get it. But until you get quiet and until you get away from your kinfolk and your father's house and you're really, until you get away from those things and you're uprooted into a new environment where you have no other choice but to be challenged, to be authentic, you don't really know what to do. So I would say, number one, you get to a retreat. You can go to sabbathfoundation.com. I have the retreats posted on there. I would say get to a retreat. That is what's most important. So get to a retreat. Number two, if you don't have a community of men or brothers right now who you can talk to, I would say you need to build it. And the way that you build a community is one conversation at a time. You need to build, if you don't have a fellowship, you need to build one. And you need to find at least one or two of those guys within that fellowship with that you can be honest with. Take the first step of vulnerability and say, this is what's going on in my life. And then here's the thing, just see how they respond. Mm-hmm. But make sure the men who you're talking to are emotionally healthy enough to be able to handle it themselves. Because not all men are. And those would be the two biggest things that I would say. And the third thing I'd probably say is go do something fun. Find something fun to do. If you like to go fish, go fish. Create you a replenishment cycle. What is your routine of rest? Do you like to go fishing? Fish more. Do you like to play paddleball? Paddleball more. Do you like to go to the gym? Go to the gym more. Make it a priority in your life, because we don't laugh and we don't have fun enough. And I would say definitely add that into the mix.
Okay. For clarity, for any guys who may wonder, what are some of the markers of a guy who is emotionally mature enough to kind of approach and handle some of what this vulnerability that they might be exploring? What are some markers of emotional maturity that they should look for?
Number one, you hear them making I statements. These are I feel this way, and they're not victim blaming. They're taking responsibility for their own life, and they're not constantly, playing the victim and saying these people are doing these things to me. Number two, you can always hear pride from somebody else, because they come from a place. It's almost like they're speaking down to you. They're trying to sun you. You want to be able to talk to somebody who looks at you like a brother, and is not somebody who's trying to elevate themselves, who's always trying to say, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. Well, and always trying to give you advice. That's a big, and you've been to a retreat. That's a big no-no. That's a big no-no. I cannot stand that. I remember that happened at a table during the retreat where we were all kind of giving our thoughts on things. It was like somebody was like, well, I can't believe you feel that way and you shouldn't feel that way. But we don't do that at the table. That's a big no-no, because one thing you don't do the table is for confession. Say what you have to say. We can fight by the fire. We're going to just confess here at the table. But the one question we ask each other is, how can I be a brother to you? And that's another thing. When you hear a man speak from a place of compassion, when you hear a man speak from a place of care, he is offering himself. And we do that by saying, I hear everything you say to me, Bryan, and I say, how can I be a brother to you? How can I be a brother? And what that communicates to you is, how can I walk alongside you? I don't think I'm any better than you. I don't think I'm any less than you. I just want to walk with you. What you want me to do? I ask my friends that all the time, and they'll say, man, bro, I'm getting ready to go through a divorce. Man, I don't even know how to ask this, but could you come on? So could you be here with me when I get a divorce? I had my friend ask me that. I said, heck yeah, I can. So I flew up to DC and I was there on the day of his divorce. He had his divorce proceeding. After that, we went out We walked, we got ice cream, we ate some food, we talked, we laughed, but
Mm.
that's what we do. And so those are markers. But I wouldn't, if you got the pompous pastor or, the deacon who just trying to son you and, well, come in and tell me what you've been doing. But, let me come talk to me. What you been doing? You don't need to be doing that. I know I don't. I know that, but I'm doing it. Like, I got you. I know that. Duh.
Uh,
Oh God. But those are some markers that I would say definitely look out for.
okay. One last question that came to mind
Mhm.
with this, I guess, with the ability that you have to be there for guys and the various retreats and things like that. Um, if it's not clear to anyone, how are you structuring, navigating, being there for these guys and simultaneously like being there for your wife, not missing the practices in there for your family? Because obviously when you're on a trip, you're away from them. So
Mhm.
how are you navigating that?
I structure my travel around them.
Okay.
Yeah, I structure my travel around them, and then I also talk to them. So cool thing in our house, we have quarterly family meetings,
Mhm.
and so we go during that family meeting, we go over our calendar, and I talk about I'm going to be gone during this time, and then we have a conversation as a family, and we talk about the need of autonomy. That while we are still a family, we are still all moving parts. And so, like, right now I'm on a retreat next week. My wife is going she's going on a solo trip by herself to Hawaii.
Mm.
And, so, but it's important because we teach our kids and each other, it's okay for us to miss each other. It's healthy. I want my wife to go away. I tell my wife, go with your friends. Y'all go I don't care where you go. You can go wherever you want to go. You can go to Pocono. I can care less. Just go somewhere. Go have fun. Go laugh. Go play. Like run around outside. I don't care. Be a little girl. Go have fun. I tell my kids, enjoy your friends. Have fun. Be with them. Be a child. Like, my kids, their friends come over to our house. We'll do the sleepover, and I mean, they just have a great time. And like my daughter, she has friends that she goes and they'll go out. They'll go out and have a good time. Go to Six Flags during the day and have a great time together with her friends. But that time away from each other is so important because anything we're around too long, we become familiar with. And I love my family. And anytime I get away from them, I miss my family. But I know I need a break from my family because when I'm with them, they get on my nerves sometimes, and
Mhm.
I need to be able to get away. So that you need to have that. But we have that discussion. I plan
Mhm.
around them. Like when my son's football season comes around, I don't have any retreats planned during that time. But as soon as football season is over with, based on his calendar, I'm back on the road.
Mhm.
Or if I am having a retreat, I do the retreat in the middle of the week so that I'm there at his games. And so
Mhm.
we structure it that way.
Awesome. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good piece to take away. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, this has been really good.
I
Much
appreciate you
appreciated,
having
bro.
me, Brian. I really do. I had a great time.
Yeah, man. Yeah, this is good. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next retreat. I'll be at the Montana one. That's my goal. Wyoming
Good.
ain't gonna make it this time, but yeah, the Montana one, definitely aiming being there. I'll have to get to
Absolutely.
Wyoming in 2027 because I saw the photos and I was like, that is
Oh,
gorgeous. Oh my
it's
word.
dream. It's a dream. I can't
Yeah,
lie.
man.
It's a dream, bro. It's amazing. It is. It
Yeah,
is.
man. So
Yep.
we definitely have, I mean, you mentioned how to get in touch with you, sabbathfoundation.com, but
Yep.
contact information will be in the show notes as well. And, ways to get in touch with you on Instagram and stuff like that too. Um,
Absolutely.
and for anybody who doesn't follow him now, bro is in the gym all the time.
Every day.
All
Every day.
the
Every day.
time.
I talked to my wife today because I'm in Uvalde, Texas right now, and I talked to my wife today, and she FaceTimed me, and I was on the treadmill, and she said, "Where did you find a gym Where did you find the gym? And I said, oh, I found the gym. I found the gym. And I don't care where I go. I'm gonna find the gym. I talked to the owner today. I'm in there. I'm at the gym the entire time I'm here. He gave me a key fob so I can go in there anytime I want to. I'm thinking about going right there.
Oh
I'm
man.
thinking about going back right now. Yep.
Mm-hmm. All
Yep.
right. And y'all hear he goes regularly, but he also prioritizes his health, his sleep,
Exactly.
because that is
Exactly.
that's crucial. You go every
Exactly.
day.
Because as soon as I go and I come back, I'm going to bed.
There we go. All right, bro.
Man, I really appreciate it, Bryan. Thank you so much, bro.